Good evening, and welcome to the Tuesday Ticket. And if you've jumped on to see Bhoycie's luscious locks, I'm sorry to disappoint. It's me and my two other balding friends. Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
Mark, you're not included on that yet.
I'm just bald. I'm not even balding. I'm just bald.
No, for this angle anyway.
How we all doing? Connor, how you doing, mate? It's good to see you since Sunday. You doing all right?
I know. Been too long. Get used to seeing you now.
I know, it's always good to see your face. And Mark, the judge, it's not Judgment Day, mate. It's Tuesday, but we've managed to get you on board. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, mate. A wee bit fresher than I was Sundays. I feel a bit tender. I was at the pub with my dad and his mate watching the football. Before the football, and then ended up getting a bit drunk. I met a couple of viewers of the show, so they came up and they were glad to meet the judge for the Axon, which was quite funny. And then they realised
That's what they say.
but anyway, it was. I forgot your names if you're watching. You can message in, but it was always good to see some fans of the show. It was a good day, but too many Stella Artois, mate, if I'm allowed to say that. But oh well. But anyway,
we enjoyed it.
too-
There's
too
other
much drink.
lagers are available.
All lagers are available that just only is good.
That's it. And perhaps maybe another lager's coming into Celtic Park. But we'll get on to that. We will get on to that now. Like we said, it's a bit of a different Tuesday ticket this evening. This was thrown together very last minute. We had to parachute in, but we didn't want to let the troops down. We thought we'll better get on and we'll find something to talk about. And guys, apparently there's plenty to talk about. A lot of transfer rumours going on, so we're going to deep dive into that, and we're just going to have a wee look see about the comings and goings. And there's a bit of a PR machine going on. It's in full swing at Celtic Park just now. So we'll see if that's giving us a bit of a reality check, or maybe it's just good old-fashioned birthday care pish. But we will get into that. As you can see, there are only three of us just now. Regan was meant to be joining. He did say he was coming on, but he has a message to say that he is unfortunately not going to manage to make it. So that's a bit gutting. But I think, oh yes, news just in, Phil McGinley is going to do a run-in. He said at some point he's on his way home, and he said he'll jump on. So that's good to have. We'll get Mr. McGinley on because, we don't hang out with him enough. Right, guys, but before we really get kicking on, I need to do all that good stuff, but I will get it done quicker. I've been told to get through it a bit quicker, so I'm going to do that right now. Hit that subscribe button, give us a like, a share, slag our lack of hair, and hit that bell for notifications. That is to let you know that the bus is on its way. You can become a Bhoycie Bus member for a small cost of $1.99. All our content is free. There is no extra content. It's just a way to help keep the bus on the road. Piesports.com, 12.5% off at the checkout with the code BUS1888. The season has started. Get those pastries ordered. Right, let's get cracking. And Celtic has done us a proper dirty here, Connor, because we were proper struggling with pronunciations of names on Sunday. And of course, why stop there? We have a Gustav Lager
Bielka.
Yes.
Lager Bielka.
All right, okay, let's take it to VAR. Right. Cool. Right, we're going to
sent you a voice note telling you when you were
You've sent me a voice note to tell me how to say it.
Aye,
no.
and you still fucked up.
Oh, mate, I've not.
I'm trying my best, kids.
You're getting a peek behind the curtain here. Right, okay, so Lager
Bielka.
Lager Bielka, right? I can say that. Right. That's fine. Lager Bielka. Right. So who is Lager Bielka? Right. Well, something of a late bloomer. Lager Bielka was playing second-tier football as recently as 2021. But in the 2 years since, he has made up for some lost time while Starfelt established himself as a dependable option for Celtic. Lager Bielka has made the most of his move to Elfsborg, earning himself a reputation as one of the most commanding and accomplished centre defenders in Sweden. He spent a chunk of last season on loan at Degerfors, but this term has nailed down a spot with league leaders Elfsborg, and his eye-catching performances earned him a Sweden debut in January this year. He possesses a towering frame and aerial ability, and at 23, he still has physical developments left to do. Judge, What's your initial thoughts on hearing that? And I'm sure you've done your due diligence and scouting since you've managed to pronounce his name impeccably as we've came on the show.
Well, I think it's quite encouraging that Celtic are going to act so fast. Hi Phil, how you doing, mate?
Hello.
Because I think when the news broke that Starfelt was going to go, I think we were kind of waiting on to see the next guy on loan, especially since we've just bought a guy for 4 million or so for Legia. So you're not expecting Celtic to spend money on the backup. So it's encouraging that Celtic have went out and they've at least been deemed to act quickly. There's been reports that there's been no negotiations took place. Celtic have just asked for probably his YouTube reel. I think anything's negotiations or talks actually took place. So we'll take it as read that there's interest. I find it's quite encouraging that Celtic have made that approach already. It just makes you realise that the club know that the defensive options are not going to be good enough for the Champions League, and that's with Starfelt leaving. I think that was always going to be the case anyway, and I think we Nabrowski and Lagerbielke, if he comes in, that'll be 2 hard names to pronounce. But it's encouraging that Celtic are acting, David. You know what I mean? It's been too long. We've been waiting for the last couple of days, and we're looking for somebody to come in and loan and or near Beaton to play out of position. Or I've had enough of Water. I've had enough of him. The thought of that guy in defence is just. I'm still looking forward to seeing the guy playing midfield. I still think there's a player there. I don't think you win Player of the Year and go for being that to being horse shit. I think there must be a player there, but he's certainly not a defender or any type of defender. I think his performances have been really bad. So I think that that Celtic fans should be encouraged. I wanted to act a bit faster now as well. If this deal does go through, I'm hoping it goes through pretty quickly. The good thing is we don't need to announce our Champions League squad for a wee bit of time yet, so there's a bit of leeway. But there isn't really a bit of leeway, David, because we need to get players in, up and running and ready to rock for the start of the season. The season started last Saturday. I know that with Ross County. That was as much as a gimme as Celtic could have asked for. That was the easiest tie we could have asked for. It was at home and we lost 2 goals. 2 stupid goals. Albeit, I think, to be quite honest with you, I thought Ross County played in the first half pretty good football. We should have destroyed them at the park, but we didn't. I think there's still a wee bit of a knitting in process with even the players that are still in the first 11. I don't think the pre-season was long enough for me. I thought it was just a series of testimonial matches, really playing in different countries for the sake of it, and there wasn't a lot of football involved. I think it was very short pre-season. So the sale players are still knit together again, and so soon as we start to get a squad in place for the coming matches, we've got Pittodrie on Sunday. So it's encouraging for the Celtic fans and myself that Celtic are at least looking to make inroads, because we kind of were under the impression that Celtic would sign players after the Ross County game. It's Wednesday in a couple of hours' time, mate, and there's been nothing but rumours and conjecture. And when guys like Anthony Joseph say something, 9 times out of 10 it's a lot of shit. So we'll see what happens, but I'm hoping there's a bit of truth behind it.
Well, Connor, what can he bring to Celtic? Was he say that he's an accomplished ball player, but that's not where his strengths lie? Primarily, easier for me to say. I'm on a nightmare these days, man. Telling you, he's a defender in the truest sense, and he won 5% more of his duels over the last calendar year than Starfelt did, 72%. Just shy of Carter Vickers' total of 73%. In the same period, though, he averaged winning 10 defensive actions per 90, whatever that means. Starfelt won 7.3, Carter Vickers won 6.6. Now, the eye test, we always say that Carter Vickers is the better defender, which he is. So we'll take these stats with a pinch of salt. But it does sound promising, Connor, don't you think? You know, and I'm sure you've looked at YouTube as well, which we, again, will take with a pinch of salt. But that's all we've got at the minute. Are you looking forward to potentially signing this boy as a backup or as competition for Rocky and Cameron Carter Vickers' positions?
Yeah, I think it's a positive sign that we're moving on so quickly, as you know, Starfelt was out, but out the door. and we do need to replace him to Sweet. So I'm glad that we're first of all just generally not really pissing about and try to get somebody in relatively fast, which is a bit of breath fresh air. But yeah, I don't know. For what I've seen in the Rocky, I think he's maybe not going to be not necessarily nailed on for being partnered up with CCV, but I feel I've seen he'll maybe come in and start a lot of the games that will come in for the boys that come in after him, whether that is, Big Gus or the Dutch laddie, to take that spot. I think what the good thing is with the Rocky Amber, Swedish boy, and Xavier and Bayamba is getting linked. Is that these laddies are tall and they're physically strong and they've got a bit more physical development to go, but what they're already packing is something that I feel could, benefit us greatly, because I know I'm not the only one. Every time I see Celtic give away a corner, like I absolutely have to hold my breath. It's it's a very frightful prospect, and I think facing that in the Champions League, I think it's going to spell a bit of danger. So I'm hoping that these lads who they are good in the ball, good defensively, but they're there to help clear the ball away, and they're tall. They're actually got a bit.
That's his worst start, Connor. That's his worst start is aerial duels. His worst start is he's only won 63% or whatever it is of his aerial battles, so he's pretty poor in the air, which I thought great. We're going to go up against a Rangers team whose full focus is going to be on set plays. So hopefully he doesn't play their games, but his worst start is his aerial battles.
Well, that's why out of the two of them that was getting linked, I was more looking towards the Dutch laddie as opposed to anyone else, because he's got better aerial stats, and I think he's maybe a bit taller, maybe just by a smidge. But yeah, we Lager Bielka. I don't know. I'll have to go to my local IKEA to find out how that's pronounced.
I could have watched Connor having an aneurysm on live YouTube trying to pronounce these names, man.
But I think it could be good, and I'm really wanting us to have backups, because all it takes is for Carter Vickers to get injured again, and we're left with the likes of Liam Scales and Stephen Welsh, and I think their time's up. I know people thought Liam Scales had a decent pre-season. He's looked okay, last week, but to me, I think we need to be aiming higher than that, a lot higher. And I think having reliable players who can come in out the cold even and put in good performances, especially defensively and especially in big games, whether it's against Rangers or whether it's in Europe, I think that would be something of utmost importance.
Mm-hmm. Well, looking at this comment here that Phil has brought up, Mark Jenks, he's talking about Professor X himself, the Dutch lad. I'm just giving him nicknames, all right. I think it was you, Connor, that actually coined him that. So I'll give you the credit, mate. So Professor X, Xavier, the Dutch boy, yes, he has scored 5 goals this season. So I'll quickly, Phil, go to you, because you didn't get to see too much of this boy on Sunday. So the Dutchman plays his football for FC Volendam in his homeland, and he was initially linked with a move to Parkhead back in May. The interest from the Hoops is still very clear. In these games, he has managed to score 5 times from central defence, proving that he has a goal threat. 6'4" Dutch and an aerial threat, and comfortable on the ball. Comparisons between Xavier and Virgil van Dijk are not so lazy. What do you want to add to that then, Phil?
Well, I mean, Virgil van Dijk, that's some esteemed company to be getting compared to there. That wouldn't be too bad at all if he was another of those. But no, the stats there about being a threat going forward is so true. The amount of times that we don't score off of corners, particularly when our centre-backs go forward. I mean, how long did it take Starfelt to score his first goal for the club? Goes forward for a set piece. It was a whole year into it, and I think he scored 2 in quick succession and then didn't get one again until the last day of the season there. But the amount of times, we take a short corner or just ping it straight in the box, and we don't seem to get anybody on it. And of course, the centre-backs are usually our tallest players, because we do have a team that are pretty short overall. It would be good if we did have somebody that could come forward and be a threat. Because, saying Virgil van Dijk there, he used to score a fair amount from corner kicks and set plays and whatnot. So it would be very handy to have a threat at both ends of the park. Obviously a defender that can clear a ball that comes in the box because of the aerial duels, and for set pieces, because the frustration. It feels like a massive event when Celtic actually scored direct for a corner. They ping one in, you get a header. You actually feel like, oh my god, when was the last time that happened? So yeah, it would be quite handy to have that as well, because getting crosses into the box at set plays and stuff is obviously a big part of our game as well. You know, we don't like to waste corners, get them in there and put a bit of pressure on the keeper. So yeah, hearing stats like that obviously make it very, very encouraging. And don't ask me to try and pronounce his name either, because I'm right there with you. I still need to brush up on that one too.
Yeah, we'll keep calling Professor X. Well, he
Professor
spent
X.
time in the academies of both Barcelona and Chelsea before moving to Volendam, where he is now on a free transfer last summer. And he is only 21, so you know he is young, and he has made 30 appearances. So yeah, I mean, I was pushing back on you on Sunday, Connor, just for entertainment value, obviously. But yeah, the more I read into him, I'm quite excited about him. I wouldn't mind. Now there was this whole debate, Mark, if it'll be one or the other. It can only be one or the other. We don't need both. Do you subscribe to that, mate? Do you feel that it's could Celtic afford to be going for both of these boys, or should we just focus on the one? Because how do we keep all these guys happy? Remember, we've still got Scales and Welsh, and we can't. And then you've got Rocky now, and Cameron Carter-Vickers, Kobayashi, who we'll get onto soon enough. How do we keep all these boys happy?
Well, the thing is, it's no Celtic's job to keep them happy. They either go on loan or they can fuck off. As far as I'm concerned, it's not my job to worry about it, or your job, David, or at least or anybody inside Celtic Park. Brendan Rodgers summed up the other day. He says, "It's not to me who plays. The players dictate who plays by performing week in, week out, and in training. He's gave guys like Turnbull a chance pre-season, and he's gobbled it up. He's took his opportunity, and I think that goes for every player. I don't think there's a player inside Celtic Park that hadn't had a chance under Rodgers. I think he's come in, he's went like to them all, look, you've got a clean slate, and that goes for newcoming players as well. Anybody that's coming in will be signed, I think, under the pretense that they've got a chance to get in a game. There's obviously going to be exceptions. I think there's always going to be guys like Eric Reedy and that who are brought in before the incumbent manager and probably just don't fancy them at all, or maybe they've got a wee run their ass about it. I'm not convinced that's the case with the players that's come in. I think Rodgers has rubber stamped a lot of the deals, and he's probably all the deals, although he's probably been told they're going to happen. Are you up for this? And he's just said aye. But I think he'll give them all a chance, David, every day. And it might not translate to game time, but it'll translate to him giving them a fair assessment on the training field. Because Rodgers isn't one of these guys that sits in the office and the warmth like Martin O'Neill or these kind of guys. He's out in the pitch. He trusts John Kennedy with a lot of training and a lot of tactical advice Monday to Friday, but he's out in the pitch quite a lot. He's dealing with players week in, week out. He talks to the players. We've already heard that from multiple sources that he talks to the players. And I think any player that comes in, I dare say, I hate mentioning this guy quite a lot because I didn't even mention it, and it's today the players. I mentioned Bernaby. You're going to get players in who absolutely shock you when you see their ability. That happens in every football club. Doesn't matter what level you're at. Players come in sometimes and they turn out, when you've watched them, they've been better than what they actually are. So there will be a few duds that's brought in this summer as well, and it's up to them, I think, to find a way to break into Rodgers' team. Rodgers, for me, he might not pick the most talented individual. He'll maybe pick the player who's most into his style of play and can do the job required more than what Ange would do, because I think Rodgers is more of a tactical coach than what Ange is. And I think if Ange can see players make spaces for other players, you can see players bringing something else to the football than that casual observers like us four can see. He'll give them a start. He'll give them game time. And there was maybe a bit of that at play with Tom. I said, I know that I'm Notre Dame. I said in the summertime, if there's anybody who might just get a game under Rodgers, it would be David Turnbull. And I felt like, all right, he's slowing the ball. There's no doubt about that. In a fast-moving, fast-paced football team, it doesn't work. But when the play's a bit slower and you've got the patience to wait 2-3 seconds for that pass David Turnbull can be a very viable option. And so that just shows you that there's players that might not be necessarily at the club who you think I've got a chance to play under Rodgers. And also there'll be players who you think are stick-ons who might just fall by the wayside. I think there was more to that on Saturday with Hatate. I know you didn't ask me that question, but just because I got into it, I think we all know the reasons why. I think he's trying to get his passport stamped and get to Glasgow as soon as possible. And I think Ange's just Rodgers is just doing a Neil Lennon. They did with Benkovic. If you're not going to play, there's no point you being part of my plans. And until that's sorted, you're not be part of my plans. And I'll go back to the original point. And the defenders, the same as a striker, a goalkeeper, any position, it's nobody else's problem at Celtic. Nobody else's problem at Celtic, all in that player to make sure he gives the manager no choice whatsoever. If that means you come in for £3 million, £30 million, or a free transfer, they've all got the same task, and that's to impress the manager. And I'd probably say more importantly just now, and that's to impress the fans. And one thing you don't do to endear the fans is tell the fans that you can't wait to go to the club like Quan. I think that guy's got a long road ahead of him to convince the Celtic fans that he's good enough to beat Celtic, and he's got an even longer road to convince some people like myself who are pissed off with his comments. So any advice I'd bring on any defender that's coming in is to keep your mouth shut, praise the club when you sign, and just do your talk on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree with you there. The other news, Connor, coming out of Celtic Park is that Yuki Kobayashi has potentially going to be going out on loan. That's been fueled even more by the fact that he's changed his agent. He has changed agency, and obviously is probably trying to find himself a move back to either Japan or says Stephen Ray says here, get him to Livingston. But yes, oh no, sorry, that was Plunge McNugget that said that, which is an even better name. sorry, Stephen Ray, and sorry, Plunge McNugget, for giving credit elsewhere. Get him to Livingston, that'll learn how to play some proper Scottish football. That'll toughen him up. But yeah, Connor, what do you make of that? In fact, he's changed his agent, who apparently represents this James Maddison. And maybe you'll get him a move to Spurs. What's your thoughts on him changing agency? Does it look like he's heading out to Celtic Park to you?
I mean, if he is, thank fuck. Like, he's absolutely stinking. Like, he's an absolutely terrible defender. Like, I'm not saying this lightly, but I genuinely seen more in Shane Duffy than I've seen in Kobayashi. Like, and Shane Duffy was an absolute crazy, terrible signing. I
think right club, wrong time for Shane Duffy. I think if I'm
maybe even a couple of years earlier would have been perfect for him at that time. But anyway, Kobayashi, it's just he looks like a fucking deer in the headlights. He just doesn't know what he's doing. He bounces up and down like a fucking yo-yo in that defence. He doesn't know where he's going or what he's doing. And for being such a tall laddie, he's about as soft as the fucking underside of a Jaffa cake. He's so weak. And I don't actually understand how he's managed to get into Celtic. I think we all know how he managed to get into Celtic and the connection that was there and the market that was clearly going there. And I think. Do
you think Ange signed him, Connor? Just I've got a morbid curiosity that I don't think Ange did. I think Celtic went, well, we'll just start looking at the Asian market, which we have been doing since he left. And I think they've signed. I mean, because Ange didn't trust him. He gave him 2 games, and then I just wonder if Celtic went, we found you another one, Ange. And he's went, oh, all right. It's the same team as Kyogo as well. All right. Cool. Right, we'll give him a go. I know I might be coming out a bit like, really, but.
No,
that's a fair point.
You've got a point, because look at what's happening now with
Tynecastle, boys. I mean, the games that he played them was Ibrox and Tynecastle. The game he won the league, and then
after we won the league, yeah.
I think though, David, and you get listen, you're all about opinions. I know you asked Connor, but I think he's rubber stamped all the Asian players, definitely. Just the ones he's picked, Kyogo Maeda, and in fact, I'm going to say it. I'd probably say 50% of his signings were fucking shite.
I've wanted to say that for so long. I've wanted to say that
I would
for so
actually say
long.
if you broke down the 20 players or so that he brought in, take Kyogo, Hatate, Maeda, and the ones that were absolutely dynamite. See, break them all up. There's been very large spells where you thought to yourself, they're fucking dog meat. And let's be honest, that's worth a conversation one time. I think you run through them all. Bernabe, Kobayashi, Iwata, fucking, you name it. Oh, my God. I said before, I mean, his man must have knew he was a striker by calling him O, because you call him yes, he was probably better, wouldn't you?
I'm not writing him off just yet. Yet.
He's awful, mate. He's 5 asides, he's still shite. Sorry, Connor, on you go, mate.
No, that's all right. Yeah, I don't know why again disrupt your flow, but no, I think Mark's right. Like, I think it's a genuinely like Ideguchi as well. Corvo, I mean, fuck me, man. And that's not necessarily his fault. He came in against Alloa, who must they like put fucking metal in their fucking studs that night and just absolutely started clamping on their players as soon as he came out of the pitch. That's not necessarily his fault. He got injured, but. Yes, I think there was a serious conversation even made about some of the signings that Ange made and has left us with having to deal with getting rid of now, or trying to do something with them. He's kind of, we were all very like, oh, what we're going to do is we're going to come and take all the best players. Well, he's maybe done something potentially worse. He's left us with all the shite that nobody wants. So I
think it's sitting here thinking I get what you're saying. Yeah, I think he has had a good mix of hit and misses, but you can say that about any manager. I think if you went through every manager's,
but the narrative is David. The narrative is what a guy he was for signing. That's a narrative. What about Abelgard? What about we're talking McCarthy?
Jens.
He sold him after 4 months. Grid him after 4 months, even though he's signing for a year. I'd probably say if you lined them up, you'd probably say. But there's more duds than there is ones who will be a Kyogo or a Maeda or a Hatate. I mean, if you lined them all together, because you go to include McCarthy on it, that's under his watch. If we can include the dumplings that come in like Toljan and compare under Rodgers, then we can include McCarthy's and Obergaard's and Jens's under Ange's watch. If you're the manager and players come in, that's your players. Either that or the guy was a total knobend that just sat in the office and said, Peter, you saying that you want, and if they're good, I'll take the benefit, I'll take the credit. If they're shite, I'll let you deal with it. I don't think that was the case, mate. He either okayed them because he's a strong man, or he just stood there like a totty and let it happen behind his back. You can't have both ways, David.
Phil, what's your view on that?
On his signings in terms of
hit
rate?
Yeah, what's on your honest opinion, his hit rate?
I think what you just said a few moments ago is correct. You can apply it to any manager, really, any club. There is there's going to be successes and failures. Mark is right, though. There was a perceived narrative that everything Ange did, everything couldn't do any wrong at all, even though in his first season, Ideguchi was a clear miss on that one. And we could see that early on. I mean, I know, yes, he did get injured in that game against those cloggers, Alloa. I know about that, but even at that, he just never, even when he got back to fitness, he was just never ever in the reckoning at all. But no, overall, I agree with the point that you said, David, where you can apply it to any manager. Brendan Rodgers, I mean, before Brendan came back, every time his name came up, there was plenty of people in the chat that would always bring up his signing rate, his hit rate with that one. Neil Lennon, I've talked recently about, we talk about the price, £2-3 million players. That was obviously a regular thing under Lennon in his first spell. And for all the Virgil van Dijks and Beram Kayals and Victor Wanyama's we signed, you were bringing in guys like Pavel Brozek came in and stuff like that. There was always a Dirk Berichter. Dirk Berichter thinks a poster boy. So every manager, there is like a hit and miss rate, So you can really apply it to anybody. So unfortunately, my answer on that one, David, is pretty much a very neutral answer. Same as yourself, where I'm just like, you can apply it to anybody.
I think the most Ange, the relatable thing that's happened since Ange has left, that came up in the chat there. Now, I was watching the game just out of curiosity before coming on tonight, and Spurs were beating Barcelona 2-1 with 80 minutes to go, and they've lost 4-2. Now, that is pretty much what we've seen.
Wow.
And I'm not bringing that up to kind of laughing because I am going to keep an eye on Spurs this year just out of pure curiosity. And if Ange does well at Spurs, I feel it only does well for us as our game. Because right now we are seen as a bit of a laughing stock. And Gerrard, we all know he was a fraud. We knew he was a fraud before he went down there, but the English media lapped him up, and they soon found out that he wasn't as good as they thought he was, and that is unfortunately is a domino effect on any manager that comes from Scotland. They quickly forget that Brendan Rodgers did very well when he left Celtic to come to Leicester, but right now Gerrard is the most recent failure that's come to Scotland from Scotland to England. So I am looking forward to hopefully Ange does well. But that is the most relatable thing that I've seen. There we go.
So they lost 3 goals in the last 10 minutes after being 2-1 up.
Yeah, now they were all over Barcelona when I was watching it, but they went 2-1 up. Had a few more chances, and they've I don't know if it went past 90 minutes or not. I can't clarify that. But they were 2-1 up, and they have now lost 4-2. So I think that goes back to, and I'm not going to keep going over this, but I think Mark's obviously his biggest concern about Ange, it wasn't his signing rate. I think your biggest concern was his in-game management, and that is obviously what's happened. Now, it's pre-season for them, so you can read into that what you want, but
I think that will cost him his job, David. Before you move on, I think his ability won't cost him his job. I think his in-game management will. But carry on, mate. That's just my opinion. But
yeah, so we'll move on from that. Now now Tetty, we brought him up on Sunday, Connor, and it kind of all went a bit quiet. Now there's been some movement in that that I managed to find tonight. There was actually a statement that came out by was it Fenerbahce that were after him?
Fenerbahce.
Yeah. So they were pretty keen on signing him, and it was looking like he was heading that way. But there has been a legal issue that's made them back off. I'm trying to find the statement here, but they really were keen on signing him, but because of the legality problems that they're having, they've actually released a statement to their fans, because I think their fans were very keen on the signing as well. And as far as they were concerned, it was a done deal, but they've had to cool it off, and they've now backed off. Now that obviously frees us up for another opportunity to sign him, Connor. But if there's a legality issue, which I'll find the statement where you're bringing up your opinion on it, would you be keen on Celtic to try and pursue this further, or would you think it'd probably best that we back off if it's going to be too much baggage and a bit too hot to handle?
I mean, I guess it all depends on the severity of the legal issue. I mean, if it's something as trivial as an unpaid parking ticket or some shit like that, then it's got getting blown up to whatever. Then it's I don't think there's much to worry about, and I think players, as we've seen recently, can get away with quite a fucking lot, and they can still get played and still earn money playing the sports. You know what I mean? So I don't really see how much that would really impact us signing a player, unless it was something absolutely insane. But no, I mean, by all accounts, he's a decent player who obviously has links with Brendan, who I believe signed him for Leicester. And then he played under him, so I think that's maybe, and also Premier League experience, that maybe fits the descriptor of marquee signing, as a lot of people are clamouring for, myself included. I think we do need at least one big signing this transfer window, or else it will seem a bit all skirting the knickers. But it's is it a breach of the peace? Do you know what I mean? Everybody's uncle's got one. It's not that serious, for God's sake.
So their statement said the player mentioned during this visit was recommended to our club by his managers. Our club has questioned the conditions regarding the possible transfer possibility, but as a result of the legal, financial, and technical evaluations, we have come to the conclusion that the transfer of the player is not suitable for us. We present it to the public. Now, they were pretty sure they would get him on a free. I think they thought that Tetty was going to be able to rip up his contract because of the ongoing conflicts in Ukraine, and obviously not being a Ukrainian national, he was able to just rip up his contract. But that doesn't seem to be the case. Shakhtar wants some sort of compensation for losing the player, and I guess in Fenerbahce aren't willing to pay it. Probably because they've wasted all their budget on the wages of that idiot Ken, but that's another story. So it looks like it is a case maybe that they just don't want to pay, and they've kind of been like, well, we've heard these as free, so why are we going to pay for them? So that might be the case, Phil. If that is the case, should Celtic stump up the compensation fee to get this over the line? I think now he didn't have the best season at Leicester, but then again, none of them did. I certainly wouldn't want to rule him out as a dud because of that. I would like to see the guy, even if we could get him on a short-term deal, and then if we need to give a compensation fee, if he's worth it, then sound. Why do we take him out on loan? Just take him off the hands, pay his wages, and then if it looks like a good deal, then pay the compensation. Maybe that would be something to look at. But then again, if there's legality issues as well, that might just be totally pointless.
Yeah, I've read the same statement you did. Because obviously had to translate tweet things. So I don't know if it's just with Google Translate and it was a bit jumbled up. But yeah, it does reek of it's no as cut and dry as he's just ripped up his contract and he can just go anywhere. There's obviously some underlying issue there. And if Celtic got to stump up the cash, it just depends on how much Shakhtar are looking for, if that's what it's going to be. If it's some kind of compensation package, it just depends on, how much. And as you say there with the Leicester thing, don't read into too much that he didn't have a great season. I mean, Scott Sinclair got relegated with Aston Villa and we signed him when Brendan first came in and he did more than all right. So I wouldn't necessarily, use it as a barometer. Oh, he was in a relegated team last season. Yakimakis as well a couple of seasons ago was in a relegated team and he did not too bad for Celtic. So these things I wouldn't be too worried about. I wouldn't hold that against him. But no, if it's an attainable price, then yeah, obviously Celtic have clearly got the money. We've been talking about it enough times recently. Celtic have definitely got the financial clout there to do something with it. But yeah, there's probably a lot more to it than this technical issue and stuff. So, but if the club are looking at it, they'll do their due diligence on that. And if it's a case of what Fenerbahce have realised as well, maybe Celtic will back out on that one, because it's been a bit weird. He's been, as I said on Sunday, he's been posting all these like cryptic messages on Instagram, on the reels and stuff, like at airports with like his suitcase and no telling where he's going. Then there was talk he flew to Lyon to speak to them, and obviously nothing's came of that. And Fenerbahce now, the most recent one. So he's kind of like doing a merry dance all around Europe right now, and nobody seems to be signing him. I say Fenerbahce have went public with that. Say maybe Lyon also discovered the same thing and thought, no. So if Celtic are in from, if they two clubs have knocked it back for the same reason, well, Celtic do it. Who knows? Again, it's going to have to. Celtic will have to do a lot of investigating on that one if he is definitely on the shopping list. But yeah, we'll just wait and see on that one. He's definitely a player that excites me though. If we are able to get him on this sort of technicality. Because as I said on Sunday, I think he's the type of player that would probably be like a £8 million, £9 million player transfer fee. And effectively, if he's going to be for buttons you're going to get him for, then it's one of those, don't look a gift horse in the mouth, just like it's too good to be true. So sometimes they say sometimes when it is too good to be true, it normally is too good to be true and something will always scupper it. So hopefully, if it's on the table, Celtic can get it done, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Right, so there's a couple of more transfer rumours that I want to go through. One of them I don't actually have in front of me, but it's been doing the rounds, and because we have our resident Newcastle United fan in the chat, I still wonder. I guess you've got a soft spot, mate, or you just enjoy watching the bus for the bands, for the Glasgow banter. You'll be able to enlighten us here, so make sure you get your comment in. You've been busy in the chat. Now, Ryan Fraser's name has been mentioned. Now, I've got a funny story about Ryan Fraser. I used to have a barber in the shop, a lass called Natty, who was just sitting to the back. And now I was talking about a local football team, just the Glenorchy Stolers. They're just a sort of Sunday League team, chatting away. And she knows nothing about football. And she just kind of goes, "Oh, my cousin plays football." And now I'm thinking she's talking about like just a Sunday League team. Oh, all right, okay, cool. Who does he play for? Now this is when he was still at Bournemouth. I think he's Bournemouth, but I think he's going to Newcastle. I went, "Your cousin's Ryan Fraser? How did you know that? How did you know that?" It's like, well, you've just said Bournemouth to Newcastle, and he's got I was like, why have you never mentioned that Ryan Fraser is your cousin? Because obviously it's never been brought up in conversation. But I don't know from what I've heard from her that he's the right player for us in terms of,
Right.
That's all I'll say on that. Right now, resident Newcastle fan, you can let us know. Is he one that we should be looking at? I personally don't think so, and not just because of what I've heard, but more to do with. I think he's just not really.
Here we go. Here's Covo coming back in. Ryan Fraser, avoid at all costs.
There you go. Right, Mark. What was your? Do you think it's just a bit of pie in the sky, a bit of piesports.com in the sky nonsense, or is there any?
I think that's a non-starter, mate. I don't think you can hear him for a start. I don't think we're needing a guy out. I'm sure he's out on the left as well. So I don't think he's any better than what we've got. I do think we need left-handed wingers. I really do. Left-sided wingers. Just quick on that. I googled it while you were talking about that Tete. A guy I saw some clips, probably like yourselves. I don't know much about him, but Fenerbahce, as the players have brought in this season, so money isn't an issue. So I'm going to guess there's some sort of legal parameters over who actually owns the player when it comes to selling them, or like a Jelic type situation. You know what I mean? But the 9.8 million a player, 8.3, 2.8, 1.4, 1.2, 1.2, and a few frees. Of course, Ryan Kent be one of them. So we spent 25 million so far, right? And they've sold and they've brought in, like, 48 million. So I don't think money's a big major issue. So it tells me there might be something underlying that Celtic have been quoted as being in talks and interested. I think it's just been a bit of chat that's just got wild on social media. I haven't seen any reputable news source or pick it up. I mean, I mentioned Anthony Joseph earlier on. I mean, that guy just scrolls through Twitter to see his gossip columns to see what he can post on his page. So
does Fabrizio Romano. He does the same thing the other day.
Romano, mate, I would say that if he puts 100 stories online, I say about a good 95 of them will be very, very, very. I would say almost 100% true they're going to happen, mate. I would be. So I probably saw it. I don't read all his stuff, right? But I probably only saw about a handful in the years I've been on his page that I've had no substance to them.
There is a really good YouTube video that I brought. I think I did a whole thing about Fabrizio Romano a few months back, and it was like a full 25-minute video of everything that he's just absolute high-profile nonsense.
I do think though that you could probably do an hour documentary on Michael Jordan's missed 3-pointers in the basketball, and I mean, it doesn't mean that it doesn't discount his other, I think the guy.
Awful comparison, mate. Michael Jordan's the best.
I don't think Michael Jordan missed the 3-pointers, mate. Do I think he missed many?
I think if you talk about, for me, if I were to trust one journalist, if there was a pure journalist in the airport and I had one guy to ask about a transfer gossip, I had £100 to put a bet on. I would ask him before I'd ask. So he's the best out there. Same as Michael Jordan was the best out there. It was just a lazy comparison I made. So for me, he's still the best out of a bad bunch. I don't trust any journalist because clickbait and selling stories is what their job relies on.
That's their job, mate. That's their job,
mate. But I just, on that guy, Ryan Fraser, I said before, he's the same height as me. So much so that I actually seen it was Bournemouth for Newcastle. When you get into their stadium tour, they've got a wee picture of his actual height, and there's like Wainston next to it. You know what I mean? That is how ridiculed he is his height. You're talking Jimmy Johnson stuff here. You know what I mean? Just without the talent or ability or any other positive facet. But I would just quickly end on the Tete stuff. I think again, I think it's a lot of nonsense. But it's worrying that you mentioned Lyon and Fenerbahce. I think there's Turkish clubs aren't scared to spend a bit of money, and I reckon there's maybe been some sort of legal parameters. I think I mentioned Jelic. If that is the issue when it comes to selling the player or whatever, who actually owns them, and Celtic and these clubs just don't want to touch you with a bar spool. You talk about clubs here who go to court left, right, and centre. I mean, they don't give a fuck. If they don't want to touch you, I mean, then maybe we should be more to this story. I'm sure Abelgard signed. Oh, fuck, we should have. He's like, I want to sign for the Ukrainian army, but he signed a form saying he was going to take a year out of football, or a year breaks for his contract. That's what it was to sign for Celtic. So he might be under the same sort of contract where he can take so many years out of his contract. So, but see when he returns, his contract's in like suspended animation basically. So he would return to that exact moment he left.
I
So
think
if he left 2 years
there,
ago, 5 years
Mark, though,
ago,
would be, remember, Abogard came from Russia, and I think that would maybe be the difference in that
maybe
situation.
David, maybe.
Yeah, maybe
Maybe,
just because of
I just
obviously
think
they were
I just
part
think
of a.
it's strange
Yeah.
how to be honest with you, it's good conversation here because the guy looked dynamite for the clips I've seen, but
It does
I
look
don't think
good.
there's any truth to it at all. I think it's just lazy. This is the Steven Gerrard come to Celtic stuff when we signed Rodgers. Any player that's played for a Rodgers team, the Scottish press just get lazy, and so do the fans. If you sign an ex-Chelsea manager and you look at John Terry signing, it just same old shite. It just revolves. It's just lazy.
Yeah, right. Okay, so the other lazy one that came up, and I'm sure you all know where I'm going with this, and that is Antonio. The report claims that the English Championship side Leeds United are also in the market to land a Jamaican international as they look to improve their forward options. But we are also interested in Antonio, apparently. It states that the former Sheffield Wednesday attacker is keen on a move away from London Stadium, but he will not be allowed to leave until David Moyes is able to bring in a replacement. There is no mention of exactly how much the Hammers would demand for his services, but the outlet does state that the number 9 has only 1 year left on his contract and would not command a significant fee. Now, Connor, we all saw what he did to us in Ange's first season. Well, in the first pre-season game at Celtic Park. I like Antonio now. I didn't actually realise he was 32, which obviously keeps himself in good shape because he must use some great exfoliating cream as well. Because I did not realise that he was as old as that. He's still younger than I am. Would that excite you? I know a lot of people on Twitter were not keen on us signing Antonio. I was a bit less upset about the thought of him coming in, even if it was just on a short-term loan. I think he's still a quality player. If I'm honest, I think he's done well in for West Ham last season and in Europe as well. I mean, what's your thoughts on Antonio?
I mean, obviously people on Twitter are saying, "Oh, he's shite, I wouldn't have him," but let's not forget, a lot of Twitter, and especially Celtic Twitter's ran by folk who are obsessed with eating fucking soybeans and riding about in fucking fart-powered bikes. If you think you're fucking polluting the earth, but no, I think he's a really good player. I like him, but I'm not going to sit and lie and say that I've watched Hunter's West Ham content. The most thing I've seen about West Ham was watching the fucking Green Street movie when I was about 12. So I'm not exactly massively clued up on what he's really done for West Ham because I don't really watch that much Premier League football. What I do know is when he played that friendly against us, fair enough it was a rebuild and that, but fuck me, he absolutely ripped us in the arsehole. Like, he looked very, very good, very skillful, knew exactly where to put the ball, and was not getting muscled off at all. He's a big boy, Antonio. So, and I think that's kind of does fit the bill. But everybody
Does he
knows
replace
Brendan
Giakoumakis for you, Connor? Is that a sort of Giakoumakis replacement? A bit stronger physical player up front. He could also play off the left as well.
Definitely. I mean, honestly, I would have loved to have seen what Brendan would have done to a player like Giakoumakis. Like, I think he would have moulded him into an absolute machine. Ange chased him out the door, which doesn't get brought up enough. But anyway, I'll digress. I think that does kind of fit. If you look at it, Moussa Dembele was, didn't come in under Brendan. He was signed before Brendan got there, but he was his boy, before the falling out happened. And I think Michael Antonio, whilst he is getting on, as it were, in terms of his age, I think even if you signed him for a couple of years, I think he's still that good and he's still got that much in him that he would come up here and just have a good old time scoring for fun and, bullying Todd Cantwell, who's built like a pepperami.
So Phil here, it says that the Hammers marksman has proven himself to be a reliable Premier League goal scorer and could therefore thrive in the Scottish Premier League. Then that's a big assumption. I mean, plenty of Premier League players that have come up here and been, rudely awoken and realised that it's not as easy as I think it is. But anyway, I'm just reading what I'm seeing on in front of me. Against a lesser quality opposition, given that England has the highest UEFA club coefficient, 8 places ahead of Scotland. Now, this is clearly an English media outlet I'm reading from here. Antonio has racked up 10 top-flight strikes in 3 of his last 4 seasons and assisted 11 goals in those campaigns combined, whilst only Jota and Kyogo Furuhashi managed more than 10 in the league last term for the Hoops. Now, I'm assuming that what he meant there was that he's had scored at least 10 goals.
At least 10 goals in the last 3-4 seasons, yeah.
It's poorly written there. So, because when I was reading that, I was going, that's no
And you said that was an English outlet. That was really poor English from them, to be honest, the way they've written that. Yeah.
Very poor. But yeah, we're getting a lot of Carrot and Co, Dion Dublin sort of comments coming in. So I think it's a hard no from the viewer, the passengers, Phil.
I don't know if I'd go as far as Carlton Cole. I've seen his Yeti comments coming up because obviously he's the last striker that we bought off West Ham. I think if the conditions are right, and but he'd probably do fine for us as an option up front if Kyogo.
Does he improve us in Europe though, Phil? Does he improve us in Europe?
He's
got a trophy.
He has got a winners' medal, won Conference League last season, which is a trophy I'd be really happy if Celtic had won. West Ham celebrated that, so he did get a winners' medal for his part he played in their run to that final. But the thing is, he's not really a long-term plan, is he?
No,
let's be honest. He's a short-term thing. He could come up here and a season. Another name that's came up, and I've seen it mentioned in the chat before, which I think falls into the same category. As I've seen Jamie Vardy's name, which is a lazy link, and I'm like, again, it's not long-term. He probably would score a decent amount of goals, to be fair. If it forced him in the right area, they would score. But again, it's not really long-term. And Celtic aren't really in the business of doing that. It's very, very rare over the last 15 years or so that you see Celtic bringing in a player that has very little sell-on value. You can probably count them on both hands over the last 15 years. The amount of players that we brought in that mould is quite a rare occurrence overall. So overall, if the conditions were right and he was to just come in as an option, he was happy to be at his age now, getting a game here and there, then probably do okay when he does get a game. But ultimately, I don't think he's a long-term succession or a long-term plan, essentially. And it could just be a lazy link. He's a player that's available. He's playing the Premier League. Brendan Rodgers, former Premier League manager. I'll just link him to Celtic. But yeah, you're saying Leeds apparently in for him. That's probably more of a... Where he is now in his career, to drop down to the English Championship and try and fire a team like Leeds back up to the Premier League, that seems probably more the trajectory his career will go in, I'd say.
There's far more other... there's a long list of players that are in that championship now that I'd look ahead of Jamie Vardy, if I'm honest. I mean, there's a player that I would really be interested in, who was Burnley's top goal scorer last season, who's actually at Southampton. He was on loan. Madness that they didn't recall him when they were struggling for goals, because he was destroying the championship last season in a very attacking style. Well. Burnley, he'd have been a decent player, and I was quite surprised that Burnley didn't bother to sign him for the Premier League. But I don't think, like you said, Jamie Vardy's a lazy link. Now, Mark, I'll get your thoughts on this before we go, because we've run out of transfer talk that I have in front of me. But did you manage to catch the Sunday Blether? What was your thoughts on my old James Justin theory? Did you think it had any merit there, any legs? Or was it just another lazy link on my part?
David, I'd be absolutely lying through my teeth if I said I watched the show, because I was in my bed. Absolutely.
It's so, Tuesday now, mate. You've had loads of time to catch up. You're not what? No,
I went to watch the Bhoycie show yesterday and I came to work, but Alana finished work early and we've been doing things. But
I'm not asking for excuses, Mark.
This guy you said talking.
So what I'd brought up, I'd done a little research. I thought I just interested in who Rodgers had had at Leicester. because I was just looking at lazy links, and the first one that came up was James Justin, and underneath it just so happened to be the leaked image of our old transfer policy or signing targets, and under on that list was his name, and it was a get in early.
I did see that.
Yeah.
I did see that, David.
And Rogers swooped in and he stole him from underneath our noses, and he signed first signing
I
for
did watch
Leicester.
Sunday's show. I was in the comments. I was.
He must have still been steaming for the day before.
No, mate, Sunday was a long time ago. That was last week. So was the question on the guy, David?
I just wondered if it was, but is that something? Does that have any merit?
I'm going to be quite honest with you, mate. I think if the full England team came in here with their strips on, I wouldn't recognise any more than two of freedom. I don't watch English football. I don't see any point in me watching English football until I get up with questions like that and I feel like an idiot. I give them, see the disrespect they show Scottish football, I times that by 10 and show them even more disrespect. But if there's players that are doing England and they're performing well, then it stands to reason that they will come up to Scotland and do a good job. But what I will say is, there's been more folk coming doing England to Scotland done well than there is the other way about. I can't think of many players, John Hartson and Chris Sutton, various others, and they're sporadic, you know what I mean? And a few and far between come up to Scotland and run amok. So you never know, it doesn't always translate, because Scotland, like Italy and like Germany, there's different types of football, and one player doesn't make for a good player in every league. But I do remember that list, and I did watch the show because you put the photograph up in the middle of the screen, and I thought that's not often we see it like that. Because I hadn't seen that photograph in a while. I spoke about it recently, actually.
Brought back some memories, that didn't it?
So I thought, I think that last to get the bullet. Remember, I was talking about Celtic leaking their information to people who put it on WhatsApp. But I find there's a lot of idiots in the world, and the people who make up these lies, I've got a bit of respect for them because they're just bored. But the folk who believe it, I've not got any respect for them because they don't. If Celtic don't put their transfer leaks out on fucking to dumplings, they put it on WhatsApp. I'm sorry, they just don't. Although I did hear they're going to be getting a new stadium for the women's team and new bras for them and one or the rest. So that was part of that dossier. It was on WhatsApp. But anyway, I did watch a bit more of the guy's stuff before I'd have like an actual opinion on him. But I stick by what I said. If he's been signed by Rodgers before, and Rodgers has seen enough of him, and then we bring him back to Celtic, then that would make me think that Rodgers, through the good times and the bad times at Leicester, and there wasn't many, I saw enough in this player to suggest he would come up to Scotland and do a job. And that goes for the same that Kolo Toure, who we all knew was over the hill, but he thought to himself, this guy is what we need for this in this season. If we can get players like that, Rodgers has worked with before, I'm less stressed about that than us signing a 19-year-old from Man City on loan. Because I think if Rodgers has worked with him before, then I think he knows the guy's base level. He knows what he's going to offer. And if that guy falls under that category, David, I think we're all happy with that, especially now when it's still 20-odd days for the window opened. But we want to see some movement. And if Rodgers has got his finger on the pulse with players he's worked with before, that tells you that Rodgers is behind it from start to finish. And I think we all want to see signings like no Marco Tilio and guys for Korea and all the rest of it. I want to see names that I think Rodgers has said to the board or whatever. Do you know what? Before you even start giving me names that I can't spell or say, there's guys that I've worked with before, and that's a prices. Go and do your work.
Yeah, Phil, you have a question you want to give to the panel?
Yes, for the panel regarding a couple of transfer names that have came up. Because obviously I know the reaction that this gets. I understand exactly why, because once again, Mark just mentioned it there when he was speaking. We have been linked with that good old City group again, the Man City one. We've got Tommy Doyle and James McAtee. Now, I understand the reasons why many fans are like, nope, we don't want to be bringing them in on loan. We're just trying to improve them essentially for another team to benefit. But here's my question to the panel. See those types of deals. See if it suddenly Man City say, take them on loan, but okay, there's a fee at the end of it where you can buy them. Does that change the dynamic and change people's thinking? Because I've seen their names coming up tonight in the chat. I saw somebody say, I think it was Clovel said about McAtee, go and get him. And somebody else said about that Tommy Doyle. Both of them on loan at Sheffield United last season who got promoted to both of them played over 30 games each. in the
Positions are they,
Championship.
Phil?
So they,
Positions?
was that?
What are they? What positions are they? Sorry.
McAtee, I think, is a winger, I think, and well, Doyle's a centre midfielder. I know that one's a definite. McAtee, I'm not sure if he is winger or not, but I'm just saying
Somebody
like
could tell us in
that.
the
I
chat.
understand why fans don't want to take them on loan if it's just a case of go back, because our track records with the Man City loans have all been there is no fee. Patrick Roberts never came with a agreed fee. Jason Denayer, John Guidetti, who we did try to sign, but he just decided he didn't want to. But there wasn't anything agreed with Man City, or we could take him for this price. But if those boys suddenly we get news that, we can buy them at the end of the season if they're a success for this price, does it change people's attitudes towards it at all? Because by all accounts, all the reports I'm reading is they are actually really good players from different things that I've read online and so on. Especially Doyle, I think he's very highly rated for what he did for Sheffield United last season.
I don't see the problem with taking these players on to improve them, because we do that as well. We do the exact same thing as well. We send Scales out on loan to Aberdeen. We send Ayer off to Kilmarnock to become a centre half, and only us benefited from that in the long term. So I'm not going to be too upset about, we're only taking them on to improve them for Man City, when, let's be honest, Man City are never going to use them ever. So, I mean, but yes, it certainly does sweeten the deal if it is a case of try before you buy. Whether the lads are interested in signing for us permanently, only they could tell us that. I think it's a case of, well, it's a try before you buy for both ends, because you might see it as an opportunity to go play some football and win a trophy, but look what happened with Jota. Jota was a Benfica life supporter, and he fell in love with the club for the 2 seasons, and we benefited from that 25 million bank. So thank you, Jota. And I do believe he loved every minute of playing for Celtic. Otherwise, he would have had a list of clubs he could have went to after his loan deal. So, I'm quite happy. I'd be quite happy if that sweetened the deal. I don't know enough about the guys to say whether they excite me or not, because I'll be honest, none of the players that have come in yet have really got me excited. And I think people in the chat can agree with me there, because I've seen a lot of, when are we going to get a game changer signing? When are we going to get a signing of somebody that we've heard of? Well, and we haven't got that yet. Let's be honest. We've been linked with some people that we've heard of, but then we're quickly rubbished because it's like way out of our transfer budget, way out of our league. McTominay getting £30 million offers rejected. I think that kind of puts that offer dead in the water. I don't think we have a hope in hell inside of McTominay. I know we talk about, you want to dream. Why would you not want to dream? And as fans, we've got that luxury of doing that. Well, reality does hit us pretty hard. And I mentioned on Sunday, when Sims is going to Coventry for £8 million and they barely kicked the ball, at that level of player, you're not going to get a McTominay for £8 million or whatever it is, Mark, you want to go on?
Well, I find loan signings very short-termism, and that's why we've seen a mass selection of players going on loan under Roy Dyler, is because there was no long-term vision by the board with Roy Dyler in charge. And I think if Brendan Rodgers wanted to make a tilt at Europe and build something, I don't think you do that by short-term thinking, or B, do well by kicking the road down the can another 12 months, David. Because not only does it stunt the players who's in behind them, who belong to the club, it stunts their progression. It also just gives you another problem in 12 months' time, should they have missed out in 12 months' game time, and somebody's came, played no bad and left. I don't know, there's no position in our pitch. I'd probably say goalkeeping aside, that I say we need an emergency loan site. I don't think we would fall apart at the seams without getting another striker, although that's a priority for me, or another central defender or midfielder. I don't think we need a panic signing like a Man City player on loan or a Chelsea player or anybody on loan. I think unless it's a Kieran Tierney who would totally change the dynamic for 12 months, I see the benefits in that. I think he would light the place up. I think he would get back a better player. It would give you a wee bit of a security blanket in Europe where I can say, well, do you know what? He's a safe pair of hands. I don't think we've got too many of them in Europe. Carter Vickers aside, I think I could play at almost any level. But I don't see the benefit, David. I think if you're Celtic's structure just now, I think the structure just now is to buy young, progress, and sell. So if we start bringing in loan players 1, 2 at a time, then that tells me Celtic have deviated for their game plan, which to me stinks a wee bit of panic and flatten a wee bit. And if we go to the last week of the window, David, and you've got no too much happening, and you're starting to see a lot of loan links, that tells me that the board have hit a bit of a brick wall and they've ran out of pretend options. Now, what I will say to the viewers, anybody, I'm consistent with this, marquee signing, you can forget that. I'm trying to be realistic here. But look, a marquee signing for to Celtic fans is going to be 8, 9 million or above, and a player you've heard of. I'm sorry, that's just not going to happen. I think we've all came to the conclusion now that Celtic are not going to do that. I think you might see another £5 million player. I'm quite confident Celtic will at least appease their fans that way. But I think any idea that Celtic are going to go out and spend the 100 million or go in the bank or even spend a 10% of that is ridiculous. I don't think we're going to do that, mate. I think we're all setting ourselves up for a fall off of a very high cliff if we're expecting Celtic to do that. I'm angry about. I'll be angry on the 1st of September if we don't, but it's almost because I can see it happening. I've not got any expectations for it, but I think some folk are going to start to be really disappointed in Celtic come the 1st of September. Rodgers has said, I've counted it 3 times he said now. It's the 3rd time he said it on his interviews that I have not been assured that any money, I've not been assured that any of this, any of that, don't be expected big signings. And I don't know whether folk are just closing their eyes and putting that and just pretending he's not saying it. But maybe one day Rodgers will put it into writing on the pre-match programme so folk just take it on board. But don't be expecting big signings because Celtic as a club don't do it. We've got a fan base who are scared to spend money anyway. So what motivation does the board got? But console yourself with this fact. Celtic by far have got the best manager we could have bought. By far the best manager. And there's no way Brendan Rodgers starts the season no feeling confident he's got the ability to win the league with Celtic. And bearing in mind, that is our main priority. Europe is a big thing for a lot of Celtic fans. Some more than others, but it's a big thing for Celtic fans. But priority this season is win the league because that's a £60 million jackpot with the potential in another 2 games. We should give you roughly, potentially up to £80 million. And that is game-changing money for Celtic. So don't be kicking the road down the can, David, and looking for loan players just to get you over and to get the Celtic fans saying, "Oh, it's a guy for Chelsea on loan." I don't think Celtic are
certainly didn't want anybody that we've not heard of just because they've come from Chelsea or City. I think if you're going to go for somebody, I'm totally happy. I'm doubling down on what you've said. You're right. Like I mean, if you're going to Connor, if we're going to get a guy on loan from say a Chelsea or a City or Liverpool, you at least want it to be you've at least heard of him. You know he's made at least a couple of first team appearances. An exciting player that's just not going to quite cut it at a Liverpool or a City or an Arsenal or whoever. Again, I'll repeat the question to what Phil asked us to you. If a player of that ilk on loan, if it around that £8 million, even £8 to £20 million valuation fee that they have, getting him on loan, and it's something you've heard of short term, would you be happy with that? Would that be enough to just make you satisfied at the end of the transfer window, knowing the money that's in the bank, what we've banked for Jota, the money that we've banked for winning the league, getting automatic Champions League football? Would you be satisfied with just, let's just say, Kieran Tierney on loan again?
I think it's a difficult question. I think if that was all we were going to do for the rest of the window and not seriously strengthen and seriously have a stab at what we all have been tricked or made into thinking is going to be, the season of all seasons in terms of Europe, I think it's be a bit shit, to be honest. I mean, I'd be absolutely ecstatic if Kieran Tierney came back, but that's because we know he's a player of a very high caliber and very high quality, but we would never get him back at all. So he'd only be here for such a short period of time and would only be able to impact us, I think, on the pitch for a wee while. Very, very good, but it's minimal. I think it reeks of a lack of ambition, if anything else. You know what I mean? I want us to build and to get players who are of the same price range, who are the very, very good quality, but not just so that we're developing them and sending them back to these, massive clubs who are like, oh, cheers for doing that for us, Celtic, right? Right, we're going to just take them and make 50 million quid off them. Thanks for developing them for a season. You can go and fan Everett, try to fill that space again whilst we, go on our merry way. I don't think that's what we should necessarily be doing, especially with, as Mark's talking about, the pot of gold, the new form of the Champions League is coming into. I mean, if it is around about the £80 million mark, which we would get, that's a fucking crazy amount of money. Like, that's more money than I feel like the Celtic board will know what to do with, man. I think fucking Dermot Desmond looked like the leprechaun in the box of Lucky Charms with that big pot of gold. But I want us to move forward, and I know people like this shit all stems back to them going bust. People think now that if you spend money, even if it's within your means, even if it's a wee bit more, oh shit, we're going to go to Safeco, we're going to go bust. No. We're in one of the healthiest financial situations this club's been in its history. Do you know what I mean? I think people forget it was only 50 years ago. We were on the brink of going like Rangers, and somebody had to come in at the last gasp and come and save us to stop us going that way. We are in a different stratosphere to what they're in, and people don't realise it. So we can move forward and we can get these players in of decent quality. And I'm not saying marquee signings who are like 15, 20 million pounds. I think that'd be kind of ridiculous. But players of the 5 to 10 million pound mark who can come in and make a serious impact on this team and can help us progress further in Europe. And just before we go, just want to give the new Instagram page for the Bhoycie Bus a wee plug. We are now on Instagram, so if that's your jive, you can find us on Instagram at Bhoycie Bus Pod, or just go and search the Bhoycie Bus on Instagram and give us a wee like and a wee follow, and you'll see some content and polls and stuff coming up, and links to the shows and the Twitter and all the rest of it. So if that's your thing, get over there and give it a like and a follow. It'd be much appreciated.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. Well, I think that's everything for today's Tuesday transfer ticket. We can call it what you want. We've got 240 live just now, so make sure you like that. But hit the like button before we go. I'll keep you just sit here and just waiting on the likes.
We can stay on for another 15 minutes if they want. If you guys want, we can stay on till half past.
Right, tell you what, that's fine. That's if you're happy to do that, because I've seen a name.
Questions in, mate, for the adoring public, mate.
Well, I would ask you this, Mark, but you're not going to be able to give me an answer from what you've said earlier, right? But what you did say, Mark, was there are other leagues out there than just the Premiership and England. Now, Phil, you'll be able to give a detailed opinion on this guy.
I hope so.
The name Dest keeps coming up in the
Sergino Dest. Yes.
Now, I read a thing the other day there that apparently AC Milan can't even give him away, or Barcelona, wherever he is right now. They're struggling to give him away. Now, that doesn't fill me with a lot of hope. But what I will say, Phil, is I've always quite liked that guy. Very quick, very dynamic, fullback, USA international.
Yeah.
So he has played beside Cameron Carter-Vickers in the World Cup, I believe. He played that same game. You were that excited? Now, they're saying about 10 million valuation. Now, we haven't signed a player of that price tag since Edward, and I think how long it took to sign, to spend that kind of money. Now, what Connor was saying, Phil, is very true in terms of we have the money there, and it is frustrating that we're not signing, and we don't want we won't go bust. I think personally, it's not a case of that we can't afford the player. We can't afford to spend that kind of money. I just think the quality of player that you're getting for that sum of money isn't worth the risk anymore. I think that's the biggest problem. We can't sign a player at 10 million. If you sign a player at 10 million now, you could get any Diddy for the English Championship, or any Diddy from, even League One. Some of these guys are going for stupid money, and I think that's now the problem. It's not a case of, even 3 years ago, when we spent 5 million each on Barkas and Ayeti, and look what that happened there. I think you're now getting a Barkas and Ayeti at £10 million because of how inflated the prices have got. So when you look at 10 million for a Dest, and I've seen it split the conversation right down the middle. He excites me. He's a head case. He wouldn't last 5 minutes in the derby. That's what you're getting at a £10 million player. A player that apparently AC Milan, I don't know if he was on loan there or
he's
Barcelona.
He's still on Barcelona's books right now.
Right, so he was on. So Barcelona apparently can't give him away, and that's a guy that you're in the £10 million bracket. That's the biggest. I think that's the biggest problem Celtic face now, is a £10 million signing is a hit or a miss signing. It's not a guaranteed you're getting a player anymore.
When it comes to him, I think you're saying Barcelona can't even give him away. Barcelona are, people have called Dest a head case. Barcelona are a head case club over the last 5 years or so with financial. They've been very scattergun with some of the mad signings that they've done, and I think he was just one of these guys that they just picked up along the way. And obviously, if you're saying they can't even get rid of him, I guess other teams are going same thing, like, no, he's not for us. So I would be quite worried about that, because then if a player for Barcelona is available normally, obviously people are all over that, but yes, you've got to look at Barca's transfer policy. I mean, do you remember a few years ago they signed Martin Braithwaite as a striker when they cover an injury or something like that? So some of their transfers have been mental, and I think Dest probably falls into that category of just somebody they were able to pick up at the time.
He was at Ajax, I believe. He was at Ajax.
Ajax got from, but yeah, looking at his stats there on Wiki, it says last year for AC Milan, when he was on loan for the full season, he made 8 league appearances in Serie A, 8 for the entire season. So it just shows you AC Milan didn't even give him that many games. So with Dest, I wouldn't be, you see the name Barcelona, and maybe some fans will go, oh, that's amazing, we're in for a player for Barcelona. But you need to look at the context of it, and I just think when you look at their history in the last couple of years, it's been a bit mental over there, so I wouldn't read into, just he's a Barca player, he's going to be amazing. I see a lot of people in the chat are very much like, no to Dest. It seems to be more in the favour. I know there's a few that are saying yes, but I've go with the majority here. I'd probably stay away from that one. But we do definitely need a right back. It is interesting you brought Dest up, because he is a right back. We definitely do need that, no doubt about it. Because if Johnson gets injured and Ralston is the only option, I said the other week, even a guy in on loan that can play left and right back, can play both, a good utility man that can play either side to cover injuries on both sides would be ideal. Something like that. But it's definitely something we should be in the market for. But yeah, regarding Dest, I would probably stay away, just because Barca worry me with the business they've done in the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. Well, since we've got 10 minutes, because we've given ourselves a wee deadline at half past, which I think is a fair whack of time. So, Mark, let's look forward to Pittodrie. The starting lineup, I think the writing will definitely be on the wall if you see David Turnbull starting ahead of Hatate against Aberdeen. And I'm pretty confident we will see David Turnbull start ahead of Hatate against Aberdeen. What's your initial thoughts heading into the game? Now, there's a lot of talk that Aberdeen were going to be, they're really going to be up there this year. The way they ended the season last year, Barry Robson seems to have done quite a good job, and he's built a great team. Can't say I've looked at it, if I'm being honest, but they dropped points in the first of the season against Livingston. Are you concerned about going to Pittodrie?
I think the perception is that Celtic just roll over Aberdeen, but I think you rarely get an easy game against Aberdeen. I think sometimes Celtic destroy them at Celtic Park. Pittodrie is one of the places that I don't like going to, but they tend to be a bit passive against Celtic, which means that Celtic will get a lot of the ball anyway, and that might suit David Turnbull. But we need a Hatate kind of type of player to break the lines and make that killer pass. So I see the benefits on both players. Hatate is a far better player. We all know that, David. I don't think anybody has to preach that. But I would agree with you. I mean, if he's no starting that game, then it's God. You will just take your tap down in the shop and get your money back for his name. I think, you know what I mean. I'm not entirely sure if I would change anything for Saturday. I think Saturday's game there was some worrying aspects. I think the defending and things like that. But Brocky looked good to me. I really liked him. If that's his first game in front of that crowd, then give him a season, and he's really going to kick on at Celtic. I don't think we'll kind of get a better picture of where Celtic are going to be at hopefully by Sunday. So I think we might get a player or two in. Rogers did mention it, so I'm kind of hoping they get a player in or two. But midfield's going to be interesting because for me, that was the first time I've been to Celtic Park in 18 months or whatever it is. And when I saw the team sheet, I was actually half relieved that noticed he had his name because I thought, well, do you know what? Turnbull's deserved his chance, and that's not me to say that because I thought before the midfield was announced, I did think to myself that there's a decision to be made. Now, if you're making a decision as a Celtic fan for a midfield that might or might not include Hatate, there's something going on in your head as well there. There's not just something going on in Celtic Park. There must be something going on that you've noticed yourself that his pre-season hasn't been great. There was one game in Ireland I think he played really good in the first half before they changed the squad, the team around a bit. And other than that, nothing too exciting. I think maybe a wee flash or two in Japan. But that was, I think there's more to that situation, David. David Turnbull, for me, I think his contract situation, I think if you see mumblings towards this weekend, he's got a new contract, you can rubber stamp Hatate's away. I think Celtic are already putting that out there. I think he's been on a lot of social media. I think he might have been on the front cover of the Celtic Matchday programme on Saturday. I'm pretty sure I picked that one name for nothing, actually. Pretty good.
Who will be? Sorry, who will be?
David, I think David Turnbull was on the front page of the programme on Saturday. David, did you buy one?
Oh, was it? No,
I think he's the front cover. That means nothing. I mean, I've
watching it on my iPad at the shop.
Oh,
I was middle of cutting somebody's hair.
I used to collect them, David. I had ones with fucking Tony Warren on the front cover and all the rest of it, so it means nothing. But just interesting that they're putting his name out there. I think he's been pimped out a lot by Celtic, you know. So
there seems to be a bit of a PR stunt going on here.
Yeah,
worth a watch.
Worth a watch.
A lot of birthday care pish, as they say. Connor, maybe they're buttering us up, as Steve says. They're buttering us up for a David Turnbull contract extension, which I wouldn't be against it, but I am very much on the side of the fence that it is a downgrade for me personally. I don't think he's the answer to our midfield issues if Hatate leaves. He certainly can prop up with a goal. We've seen it against Ross County. Let's just bear in mind it was Ross County on Flag Day at Celtic Park, and one was a penalty and one was just happened to be in the right place at the right time. But he scored the goals, and you got to give him credit for that. And he took his chance, and he got a lot of praise from his teammate. But it doesn't excite me. It just doesn't excite me, if I'm being honest. That player doesn't excite me, and I was more than happy to hear that he would be leaving. I'm not overly bothered if he leaves or if he signs a new contract. That's where I am with David Turnbull. He's a squad player for me. He can come off the bench and change the game, slow the game down if need be, and maybe he'll come up with a goal if we're chasing a goal. It is not what I want to see Celtic progress to in this season. I want to see a higher caliber midfield player. I'd almost rather see, and this is maybe very naive of me to say this, but I almost want to see Odin get more game time than David Turnbull. And people might say, well, David Turnbull's proven that he can do it at Celtic. Odin hasn't been given that luxury yet, but I think he excites me a lot more to watch than David Turnbull. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Connor. I'm sure I've probably split the passengers down the middle there with that view, but I'll be disappointed if Hatate leaves and David Turnbull's the answer, if I'm honest.
I mean, I like David Turnbull, but I think you're right. I don't think he is the answer. And I think, I think going from a player like Hatate, who's, came in and just set the header alight as soon as he touched down in Scotland, the games against, Hearts and Rangers and that, and he just kept getting better and better. And we're like, oh, fuck, this boy's like something else. And I think going for that to David Turnbull, who I can score a couple of goals, but he's not like the sexy foreign name. He's got the same personality as a fucking piece of styrofoam.
But that shouldn't be something to gauge a player on. Whether I think
No,
we've learned a
no, I
lesson
know, I
there that
know,
a
no, I
sexy
know
name
that.
doesn't
Aye,
a
no,
player.
I
I
understand.
understand what you're saying though. It doesn't excite you, but that's not a reason why he shouldn't excite you. I think it's his style of play that's maybe the.
I think he's a bit too slow. I think he's fine for domestic football. I don't think he's going to get, pressured as much. I think he does have the time to make decisions and to make the pass or whatever, in terms of games in Scotland. But I think in Europe, or maybe even just against Rangers, even though I scored against them, but that was down to the goalie. I think in Europe, he'll just get overran, and he's not the strongest on the ball. I think he's quite lightweight as well. He tends to get out muscled quite a lot and bullied off the ball a wee bit as well. But I think he's good for a goal. I think he's an enigma. I think that's the best way I could sum up. He's an enigma of a player. He was that one bright shining light in that horrible, horrible season. We were like, we've got a player in our hands here. He was good at Motherwell. In Ange's first season, before he got injured, he was playing regularly and contributing with goals and even getting hat-tricks and all the rest of it. And he looked very, very promising. But since Hatate's came in, I think we're kind of touching the stars a wee bit. We're going to try to gauge that. We're like, we've seen what we can have in that midfield, and it's better than what David Turnbull can offer. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't have a place at Celtic. I think he could, like you're saying, come off the bench, impact the game, score a goal, and especially against tightly packed defences where sometimes you do need to take a fucking long shot at the outside of the box and see where it goes. That happened so much throughout last season, and it'll probably happen this season as well. That's the kind of player that we need to do that, who can take those chances, who can put the ball in the back of the net in those situations where against a tight, compact defence. Other than that, I don't know. I think now where people are kind of being, they are getting buttered up because Turnbull had an okay pre-season and he's been okay the first game of the season. A few weeks ago, if you asked anybody, even the people are saying, "Oh, I like Turnbull, want him to stay." A few weeks ago, you ask everybody, and everybody will be like, "Nah, get rid of him. He's not got a place to Celtic."
Well,
I think it'd be a massive. So I think it would be a massive indicator to the Celtic fans where the club's gone. It'd be black and white for you. If David Turnbull's the answer to that question, David, then I think there'd be folk rightly a wee bit concerned. The fact that we're all kind of non-fussed tells you that if he went, fair dues. If he stays, fair dues. I do think there's probably a player in there. At what level he's at, I'm not entirely sure. Celtic might be the very, very peak of his career. I'm going to suggest it will be, but I'm not entirely convinced. And I did just very quickly, and I noticed that an awful lot of long balls on Saturday there. I thought Celtic played more long balls on Saturday than they have played all in the last 2 years. Nothing against that as such. I think Celtic sometimes fan out too much. Now, if that's the case, and that's by the way, that defender, Lagerbielke, he seemingly part of his game is long balls. He's really good at it. But anyway, that might show you that Celtic are no as fussed about ball playing midfielders and skillful, tricky midfielders that are willing to play the ball over the top quite a lot. And maybe a lot of work that Rodgers has done pre-season with Maeda. I thought Maeda has looked amazing this pre-season. I think he's improved Maeda's first touch, and maybe that's why Rodgers has improved his first touch, is because he's looked at the pace of your strikers. He's going to utilise them to the best of their ability, know the best of his vision for Celtic. Whereas the best you can, as a manager in any industry football, you make the best of what you've got. And if long balls is going to be a big part of your game, I'm not going to say it's going to be the part of the game or the game plan, but there might not be the need for too many flair players, and maybe that's why Turnbull's been getting a lot of game time. But again, sorry to hold up everybody else, let Phil have you say. I just think that I think if David Turnbull's the answer, I'm not entirely sure what the question is, and I think alarm bells will start ringing within the corridors within the stadium of Celtic Park if Hattati went for 15 million and we just signed David Turnbull. I think that'd be pretty. I'd be stark.
Phil, before we wrap up, I'll get your opinion on the Aberdeen game, but Mark brought up a good point about Maeda there that I want to ask you before we go. Now, Maeda was moved into the middle, an expense of O. And if you remember, if you listen to the post-match pish episode with Terry returning, Bhoycie has got the idea that the way that Kyogo's playing, it's almost like Brendan's looking for a partner for Kyogo, and almost Kyogo will drop deep and maybe we'll have somebody just playing just slightly ahead of Kyogo. I have a theory that Maeda's that partner. We've seen him doing it we've seen him doing it at pre-season against his former club and against the other Japanese team, and I wonder if he can get himself a left-sided winger that'll move Maeda up front, and we'll see more of that partnership. It's just a theory I've got. I want your wee thought on that theory. And before we go quickly, what's your initial thoughts about the Aberdeen game coming up? And do you see us keeping Rangers at arm's length on Sunday?
Well, regarding Maeda, I agree. I think we're going to see him going through the middle quite a fair bit this season, and no smoke without fire. He's obviously doing it for a reason. You use pre-season games for these types of things, and he's been doing it enough. What does that say for O? We talked about last season, there was a game at Ibrox where we had a left-back on the bench, but Juranovic got put on at left-back instead, and that was kind of a ringing endorsement. It was Bernabei. Bernabei was on the bench, and it kind of gave you an indication what the manager thinks. The fact that, Maeda's been getting put through the middle a lot during pre-season. I know O did get his appearances here and there, but the weekend there, O was moved through the middle after all the substitutions that were made, so I think that is a good indication. And Bhoycie pointed out, Kyogo was dropping a wee bit deeper, playing a lot of through balls, something we don't usually see Kyogo do. So this is obviously, there's something I'm brewing there, definitely. So won't shock me. But as you know, I've said a few times now, and we're talking about who's going to be that guy in a year's time, and we're sitting here going, wow, I cannot believe the season he just had. I've said Maeda a few times now. I'm going to stick to that.
20 goals.
That 20 goal season's coming, mate. It's coming this season. He's going to hit 20 over the course of the season, all competitions.
Well, I kind of lose on that for because I won last year's bet and fuck all happened.
Well, what was the? We still no, but right, we're on live on here right now. What was the?
I don't think there was any.
Stipulation
or anything like that. But so
there should have been a forfeit. Give me a
forfeit. We'll let the viewers decide.
Right. Just use steady on.
That's dangerous territory.
Just use steady on, Mark.
I think you should shave off do one side of your beard. Just one side.
Just one side of my beard.
Just so all year. I just have
come on for an episode.
Tell you what, I'll do that if we can get to how many subs are we on right now, Phil?
4,040 or something, no?
Something in that neck of the woods. Russell sends me an update every so often. I forgot what the last one was. In fact, I'll do a quick check.
We'll think of a number. We'll think of a
number. Right? Regarding the other question you asked, I do think we'll beat Aberdeen at the weekend. I'm not that worried, but I think we'll go up there and we'll get the result, and we will keep Rangers at arm's length, as you said. Russell sent me a message earlier today with the most recent number. Might have changed since then. 4,039. Good guess there, Mark. By the way, you're one off. You said 4,040, so you're one off.
I just seen it. I didn't guess. I just seen it when I clicked on the page to share it. I just seen the tab saying 4.04, and I went, that must be 40. But so once we get to 4,100, I think David should shave off just half his beard to here, so that he can be like the guy with the Batman. You know what I mean? He can have
Two-Face.
I'll do it.
You can go like this. You can say one opinion and turn around and say another opinion.
I'll do a one-man show, but there'll be two of me.
It'll be like you can do like you can argue with yourself. You can say, "I never said
Like that Tom Hardy when he played Bronson. Have you ever watched that? If you've
That's a
not watched
mad
that
thing,
film,
man.
if you've not watched that, then get on that. Right, but that's plenty. Before Mark gets me shaving other things, we're gonna get this we're gonna get this closed off now. Right, thanks for joining us on this Tuesday transfer ticket, and I'm sure normal viewing will resume on Thursday. I think there will be no judgment day tomorrow. There's no way I'm getting away being on this 2 nights in a row, right?
No.
Right.
You'll be back
Let's be-
Thursday for my crazy opinions.
Yeah, so get back for Thursday. The TNF will be back on, so you can get the judges' views and the rest of the guys. Steve-O should be back for that, and I'm sure Bhoycie and his luscious locks will also be back. Phil, Mark, Connor, thanks for joining me. We had over 240 live at one point, which is madness. I really appreciate it. So hit that like button, and we'll see you on Thursday. See you later.
Take care,
Thanks,
guys.
Bye. Bye. Still.